Corey Marioneaux Jr. spoke this evening at a church service for the first time since he was arrested. The state attorney's office announced Corey will not be prosecuted after he fired at a SWAT officer entering his home. Back on February 3rd, Marioneaux fired a single shot as police entered the home, hitting the ballistic shield. The officer fired back, but no one was injured. He told investigators he thought the officers were people in the community who want to do him harm. He spoke today and shared with us his reaction to the news.
It's the first thing I said. It's like, thank you.
Yeah.
And none of this is possible without him. I kept my faith in God, and I knew that I would see light in this situation. So I just stayed praying every day with my pastor, and God got the job done.
We contacted Pensacola police, who said they couldn't say anything beyond what was said in the press release, which was the chief was notified of the decision and the department supports it. The internal investigation into the incident is ongoing. Corey's attorney says that they still plan to file a lawsuit for the injuries to Corey's child. The child fell out of a police cruiser, striking its head on the pavement. Attorneys say they may have to wait about 180 days before officially filing the lawsuit.
Okay. So y'all just heard that news clip right there, and let me just say that it's a lot of holes that have to be filled with what you just heard, because that was clearly not the entire story. And I'm going to read the article, and it's going to fill that space in for you. All they did right here was just give an update to something that happened. But yes, this is Corey Marioneaux Jr. And if you can see right there in the kind of the sides kind of cut off, that's his son. Basically what happened was there was a search warrant that was executed like really, really early in the morning. Corey thought that these were intruders, kind of reminds you of Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker, thought they were intruders and ended up shooting back at the cops, and then they arrested him because basically he was defending his home because he thought that they were people trying to rob him or maybe do worse, because he didn't know that they was coming to his home. Man, they love to come. They love to do these search warrants or whatever on black people early in the morning when they're sleeping and they're not coherent and can't be as attentive as one might think. And then the incident comes in with his son, but I'm going to go ahead and read the article, and it's going to give the details about that as well. And again, this happens in Florida, Pensacola to be exact. Pensacola man Corey Marioneaux Jr. will not face criminal charges for shooting at Pensacola police SWAT officers during a search warrant at his home in early February. Marioneaux Jr., age 24, was arrested February 3rd after Pensacola police said he shot at SWAT officers while executing a search warrant at his home around 5 a.m. He was charged by police with attempted murder of a law enforcement. The release from the state attorney's office on Wednesday states, careful review of the case has determined that there is insufficient proof to establish a reasonable doubt that Marioneaux knew that he was firing at a police officer. Knowledge is an essential element of the offense. The evidence would show that Marioneaux fired the shot at the exact moment the door bust open. Under the unique set of circumstances, he did not have adequate time to perceive and appreciate that it was a uniformed police officer equipped with a ballistic shield on the other side of the door. The manner in which he repudiated his intent to fire upon a police officer substantiates his claim that he did not know it was the police when he fired the shot. The state's attorney office added it was consulted with the chief of the Pensacola Police Department, and he has indicated his understanding of the decision and support. Channel 3 reported in the days following the incident that Marioneaux Jr.'s family insisted he was acting in self-defense when shooting at police, claiming he thought they were intruders. Pensacola police stated that they yelled and knocked an appropriate amount of time before ramming the door of his home. However, Marioneaux Jr.'s attorneys argued they violated policy by not waiting the appropriate amount of time, even writing it in the initial police report. So listen to that. They sat up there and lied and contradicted what they put in their own police report. They just wanted to get this guy for whatever. So basically, they're supposed to wait a certain amount of time before coming into the home, but they went in too fast. They indicated that they came in too fast on the police report and thought that that was going to fly. It's like you put in your own police report right here that you came in so fast. So what are we doing here? But see, a lot of them don't want to take accountability for their actions. They probably knew they effed up, but instead of admitting that they did, they decided to go and run along right with it. The state's attorney office addressed this in Wednesday's release, stating this office found that the execution of the search warrant was done in conformity with applicable state law. The state attorney's office also commented on Marioneaux Jr.'s actions after he fired a shot at officers, dropping a gun and surrendering to police. Marioneaux, exhibiting shock, immediately put his firearm down and stated that he was sorry and that he didn't know it was the police, the release states. He also stated that he thought the police were people who were looking for him, apparently fearful of others in the community who he felt intended him harm. On February 24th, Marioneaux Jr.'s attorney, James Bryant, held a press conference in Pensacola along with Marioneaux Jr.'s family. Bryant called on state prosecutors to drop the charges and also announced plans for state and federal lawsuits for Marioneaux Jr.'s children against Pensacola police and Escambia County EMS. Marioneaux Jr.'s two children, ages 1 and 3, were inside the home during the police-involved shooting. The 1-year-old was then injured while in custody of Pensacola police following the incident, sustaining injuries to his face, nose, and head. Police called EMS to the scene, which checked the baby and released him back to the family. Escambia County EMS did not take him to the hospital for treatment. Instead, his mother, Moya Dixon, did after seeing the injuries. Pensacola police, which launched an internal affairs investigation into the child's injuries, sent Channel 3 a statement in the days following. The department claims both kids were in the backseat of a car with an investigator. The investigator then got out of the car upon returning. Pensacola police says the investigator didn't notice the child leaning on the door. When the investigator opened it, police say the child fell out of the car. My thing is, this is a 1-year-old right here. Why would you leave a 1-year-old in the back of a car by themselves like that? Because they need to be in a car seat. And you know, kids, they like to be investigative. They like to explore. And that child did not know of its surroundings at that point. It wasn't familiar with the situation going on. I mean, their dad is literally in a situation right now with the police for something that they caused. So they were probably looking for their father. And if you look at the thumbnail, you can actually see the injury from the child, like on their nose and their lip, from the fall that the baby had. Luckily, those were minor injuries, because if the baby could have felt like on their head, it could have been so much worse. Talk about absolute neglect. The internal affairs investigation is still ongoing. And that's the whole story right there. But listen, this actually happened last month. I'm just now hearing about it. This story did not enter the news for me. I don't remember anyone sending this story to me. And how ironic this is in Florida. And, you know, his name is Corey, just like Corey Pujols happened in Florida. His name is Corey. Again, like I said, when it comes to this self-defense thing, it rarely ever happens, if it ever happens, for black people. In this case, for him, it actually worked in his favor. However, look at all the stuff that happened leading, you know, look at all the things that happened, that transpired in the midst of that happening. He ended up getting arrested and charged with something. They just had the charges dropped, and his son was injured in the process. I'm surprised they didn't try to put the injury of his son onto him, because guess what? If they found Corey Marioneaux Jr. Guilty, not so much guilty, but if they found anything that they could stick with on him, the injury of the child, even though he wasn't in his care at the time, would have been put on him. But see, because the charges got dropped and they don't have anything on him, they can't put the injury of his son on him. And how could they? Either way, because the child was not in his care at the time. He was in the back of a police car, and then when they open up the door, he falls out of the car. And Corey didn't put him there. He didn't open up the door. But you know how they be. But I'm glad that this all worked out for him, because this could have ended a whole nother way. Shout out to him for having his power tool, as we say, and activating his Second Amendment right. And, you know, the right to protect his home and defend himself. The fault of the whole situation with this is on the police, as a lot of times it is. And I bet you, them Blue Lives Matter folks, if this went the way that they had, that they usually like it when it comes to the police interactions with people, especially black people, they would have been on their side. But see, now they know that they can't do it because this is the outcome. Y'all let me know what you think about this story down in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live.